This week we are really upping the game in terms of luxury dive watches, and I've got something pretty cool to show you. This is a small production watch company called Horage. If you've not heard of them, then you're in for a real treat. They are a real innovative watch company, in particular around their movement design. What we're going to look at today is the Horarge Supersede K2 Date. This is their dive watch. The fit and finish on this is exceptional, but the real star of the show here is when you turn the watch on the back, and through that exhibition case back we can see their beautiful in-house movement. So let's flip the camera around, dive into the review, and then as always, let me know as we go along what you think in the comment section down below. Here we have the stunning Horage Supersede Date. Look at that dial. These watches have been causing quite the ripples in the watch community lately, and that is mainly due to their thin, sporty design, and that is thanks in no small part to the Horage K2 Swiss in-house micro rotor movement technology that they've been working on over the last several years. And thanks to the modularity of this K2 micro rotor movement, this incorporates a jump hour mechanism and an oversized date, which, you know, of course, I'm a huge fan of. The jump hour mechanism allows travelers to swiftly adjust the hour hand to a destination time without interrupting the minute or second hand. Complementing this functionality is a quick set date feature as well, and this is accessible by turning the crown counterclockwise. This is an improvement over traditional traveler GMT watches that do have this quick set hour hand, but typically they don't have a quick set date. So even though this has the quick jump hour hand like a GMT watch, this isn't a GMT watch. Horage do offer a GMT version of this watch. The dial is just stunning on this watch, and Horage say it's inspired by the allure of deep warm waters. There are two different dial options for this watch, the blue that we're looking at here and a black coral version. The vivid blue color of this dial captures the light and is honestly stunning in person. This is complemented by high polished indices and diamond cutout hands that also really capture the light. The hands are filled with Swiss superluminova, and as you can see from this lume shot, that performs very well. The pop of orange on the second hand really elevates the dial. The minute hand reaches all the way to the outer seconds track, something I always love to see. The main hands are also partially skeletonized. They also incorporate a bevel down the center as well, really adding to the visual interest of the hands. Horage are also famous for using premium materials in their watches, and this one is utilizing 904L stainless steel throughout the watch's construction. This steel is known for its superior resistance to stress, reduced chance of pitting, and also corrosion resistant, which makes it ideal for saltwater environments. And of course, this is also the grade that Rolex use. The use of this type of metal also allows for a very high polishing to be applied to the stainless steel, and we can see that all over the case and bracelet. The main case is beautifully brushed on the sides with polished chamfers on the corners. This maintains an industrial look to the watch, but really softens up those edges without introducing a curve. The case measures in 39.5 millimeters, some would say the perfect size, with a lug-to-lug of 46.2, and incredibly, it's only 10.3 millimeters in thickness. It's a very wearable case. Here you can see on my 7.2-inch wrist. The case is also beautifully balanced, in part thanks to its thinness, but it does sit nicely on the wrist because of the flat sapphire case back, and this is of course complemented by a flat sapphire on the front, which really elevates the dial without adding any distortion to it. The bracelet looks to be integrated, but it is bolted to the case. Where it attaches is 16 millimeters, and that matches the taper towards the clasp. To balance out the taper, the bracelet overhangs the case with a measurement here of 21 millimeters, although Horage say it's 22 millimeters on their website. Horage also offer this watch on a rubber strap or a rubber strap to be added on afterwards, so this bracelet can be removed even though it does look like it's integrated, but you are unlikely to find a well-fitting third-party strap for this watch, I suspect. The brushing on the bracelet again is done to a very high standard, and the corners of the links have been chamfered to to soften the look and really add to the comfort of the bracelet. Now, this is totally a matter of personal preference, but I'm not a massive fan of the high polishing that's been added to the center of these links. For me, this is just too sparkly and really blurs the lines between this being more of a sports, dressier watch and a dive watch. But if you are also not a fan of how shiny this bracelet is, the good thing is that Horage also offer this in a completely brushed version as well. It does have a lot of actual dive watch credentials. It has a beautifully finished screw down crown that is also shrouded, and also a water resistance of 200 meters, and not to mention, of course, the dive bezel. So even though this certainly has an elevated, more dressier, sophisticated look, it certainly has all of the dive watch chops that you would expect from a dedicated dive watch. Let's look at the bezel now, and while we're on the topic of that, the action here is excellent. Very similar feeling to a Rolex bezel, which is quite the feat considering how thin it is. The fit, finishing, and action on this bezel is excellent. Top marks for Horage on this. Something I love to see on a bracelet is an on-the-fly micro adjust buckle, and the Horage's take on this certainly does not disappoint. Apparently, they took over a year to develop this clasp, and I don't doubt that for a second. The ultra-low profile micro adjust clasp offers up to 10mm of adjustment. The low profile of the on the fly micro adjust clasp is excellent, and it's very easy to adjust just by pressing the button on the back of the clasp, so it can not only be adjusted easily but also quickly. So if your wrist swells in the heat like mine does, you can quickly take the watch off, press the button and move it to the desired position, really enhancing your comfort and wearability of this watch. And because it's so thin, it shouldn't offend anybody that's afraid of having a thicker micro adjust clasp, and the machining on the mechanism and machining on the clasp is again done to a very high standard. Through the transparent case back, we can see that stunning K2 micro rotor movement. This is an in-house chronometer certified movement boasting a slim 3.6mm profile and over 72-hour power reserve from a single barrel. This movement has a lot of technology and advanced material science used in it. A lot of that is also proprietary to Horage. This includes things like silicon hairspring, silicon escapement wheel, and because of these silicon components, the movement is also resistant to magnetism. The movement has been polished and highly finished, complementing the gunmetal parts of the movement, and having all of the other elements in gold really give a beautiful visual appeal to the movement when you're looking at it from the back. The main thing that's going to draw your eye on this watch is a gold plated tungsten micro rotor. There is also an option to upgrade this to platinum if you wanted. I think it's about $1,000 extra. I don't think that you'll get any increase in its functionality. It's just whether you want the platinum rotor on there, I would guess. But I think this tungsten, because it matches the other gold brassy looking components, really adds to it. So that would be totally personal preference if you went with the platinum version. I can't say enough things about this movement. It looks spectacular. Probably one of the best looking movements that I've reviewed on the channel for quite a long time. In conclusion here, this watch was a real treat to review, and so big thanks to Dave from Scottish Watches who joins us on the live stream. He kindly hooked me up with a loan of one of these watches because he also works for Horage as well. I'm very interested to know what you guys think in the comments section. If I'm being honest, this watch with its high polishing is a little bit too blingy for me. Don't know if people still use that word, but I think it's appropriate here. This watch is coming in at just over $6,000 US, and having seen it in person, I think that is more than reasonable, even though it is quite the investment. To the fit and finishing, and not to mention that in-house movement on this watch, I can't think of a comparable watch from some of the larger brands that I've seen that quite comes close to this. So even though it is an investment at $6,000, you're getting a lot of watch for the money. So if you've got one of these on order, when you see it in person, you will not be disappointed. But more importantly, doesn't matter what I think, it matters what you guys think. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think. If you're new to the channel, I'd love it if you subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps out the channel. And also consider becoming a channel member for a lot of additional perks and additional video content. Appreciate you watching. See you next time on Casual Watch Reviews.